TitleMatchNetwork.com.
When did you first reach out to Bret Hart about potentially coming to WCW?
I don't recall. I think if I do recall, we kind of danced once and decided not to dance. We talked about dancing once and decided not to dance. And then the incident happened in Montreal, and then he called me, and it just happened to coincide with the whole Thunder mandate. So I think it was twice.
Were you surprised when he called you back?
No.
No? Okay. Did you feel it was a sign that WWE was on the verge of being defeated?
I don't recall thinking that, actually.
Vince has often said that the reason he screwed Bret at Montreal was to prevent him from showing up on Nitro as WWE champion. Talk about your memories of that period. Would you have put Bret on TV as WWE champion?
No. In fact, we had that I do have pretty vivid memories about. That, Bret coming over and him being the champion was post the NWO, WWE, WCW trademark copyright infringement lawsuit. So now I was a lot smarter about copyright infringement and so forth. Even if I would have wanted to put the belt on him or let him come over with a belt and kind of recreate a Medusa moment, so to speak, there's no way anybody in Turner would have let me do that. So it was never a part of the equation. And I had specific conversations with Bret. I remember Bret calling me, and I don't remember how close it was to the Montreal incident, but he called me and we talked about it. And I said, Bret, you coming over and becoming a part of this story is a big enough story in itself. You don't need to come over here with the belt. It's not necessary. So it was never a part of the equation.
Were you surprised when WWE screwed Bret? And would you have done it differently if you were in Vince's position?
Oh, was I surprised? Nah, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't not surprised. I think I was kind of ambivalent to that. I might have been shocked. This was a pretty big deal, obviously. I remember sitting at home. I don't know what I was watching. It wasn't that pay-per-view, clearly, but I was sitting home with my wife and the phone rang and it was Rick Rude. And Rick was fucking livid. He was livid. And I'd known Rick for a long, long time. He's a Minnesota guy. And he was pissed. And he said, I'm coming back. Not can I come back,
right.
It's I'm coming back. And he told me what happened. So that was shocking to me. And that was probably moments after it happened. That was almost in real time. And what was the second part of the question? Would I have done differently if I was Vince?
Yeah.
Those questions are always so hard to answer because if I was Vince and if I had been in Vince's shoes and if I would have believed what Vince believed at that moment, probably.
Do you think the screw job hurt Bret's work and marketability once he came to WCW?
Not at all. Not at all. I think it had a traumatic impact on Bret, which I think ultimately affected everything in his life. But from my perspective, then it didn't.
Do you feel that WCW got what they paid for when Bret came over?
No.
Why is that?
And it's two things. It was what happened to Bret in Montreal, which I think he took probably more intensely than anybody else in the business would have taken it, because it happened in Canada and because of the way he viewed, maybe still does, himself as a Canadian icon and legend and all that goes with that. I think because of his inherent trust and belief in what's right and wrong in the wrestling business. Because I don't think Bret never had any intention of coming over with a belt, because he and I had talked about that. So I understand why Bret felt the way he felt, but it really devastated him. Now layer on top of that what happened with Owen, and Bret was a shell emotionally of his former self, and I think that had that trauma had a dramatic effect on him.
Is that why Bret was never really a major attraction in WCW?
It's part of it. You can't. And look, I'm not blaming Bret 100%. I think it was a big part of it. Did I come up with the best idea in the world for Bret? No. But did I have a talent that was able to help deliver anything close to that? No. Bret would show up half an hour before a show. And he was literally, when I was like, God, he's depressed. It's like, you gotta participate. You gotta be in the game.
Right.
You can't just walk in an hour before the show and go, what do you got for me? And go, oh, really? I'm going to do that. And then expect that anything magic is going to happen out there. You're a performer, you're a wrestler, you're an actor, you're a singer. You've got to feel the passion for it. And if you don't, regardless of what I write on a piece of paper, it's not going to really matter.
You popped up in Canada attached to a promotion called Mat Rats. Talk about that concept and how you ended up attached to it and why it never really went past that level.
I was never attached to it. And it was something that a couple of guys up in Canada, and I can't remember the names now, had developed and brought me in to try to get me involved in it. And I showed up at a television taping, and I looked at it. It was pretty cool, and I was going to try to see if there was a way that we could get distribution, but their wheels fell off before I ever had a chance to try to get them placed on television.
Where did the Celebrity Championship Wrestling concept come from?
Jason Hervey and myself. We were watching what was going on with reality television and shows like Dancing with the Stars, and we thought, wait a minute, we have a competition elimination type of format, but have it, utilizing the wrestling background as opposed to dancing. It'd be kind of cool. So it was our idea.
Was it hard selling Hulk on the idea?
Not really.
No. Okay. What about pitching the series to CMT? Was it hard getting the series sold?
No. Jason and I are good at selling series. Jason in particular.
How long was the turnaround from pitching this series to actually being in production?
Short period of time. I don't remember specifically, but I doubt it was more than 60 or 90 days.
Out of all the celebrities that you guys worked with, who do you feel that had the best and the least aptitude for the business?
Dennis Rodman. He's a little bit like Scott Hall. If you get him to focus, he's so athletic, obviously.
Right.
But he kind of got it. He had a feel for it. He was a performer. He liked to get the crowd riled up, and he had a natural connection to the audience and the athleticism to pick it up very quickly. So it was Dennis. Danny Bonaducci was kind of fun to work with. I mean, there was a couple people that were really, really fun. The passion was fun to watch.
What about Todd Bridges?
Todd was good.
Why was the series never picked up for a second season?
It was expensive. Hulk is an expensive piece of business. Yeah. That show was very expensive to produce. It was probably at that time one of the more expensive shows that CMT ever did, and I just don't know that it was long term.
Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently with that concept?
Yeah, and honestly, we had tried to do it differently before we did it. I didn't really want to do it with celebrities. We wanted to use real people.
Right.
And kind of really improve upon the Tough Enough concept, because that was kind of one-dimensional in some respects, and use more of a competition elimination format as opposed to just a behind-the-scenes docu-soap that Tough Enough did. But the network liked the celebrity factor, and I understand why.
TitleMatchNetwork.com